Well, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the United Way, Living United with Nashua Business television show. You know, ever so often we get together with local business leaders and talk about what they're doing in our community to learn a little bit more, not just about their businesses and how they're changing our community for the better, but also how they give back through their businesses, through philanthropy and volunteering, in order to make Greater Nashua a place which is stronger, smarter, safer, healthier, and happier for all of us who live and work here. So today I'm very excited to have with me in the studio Kristin Mendoza. Kristin and I have known each other for quite some time.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute, right. And actually since before United Way, before I started working at United Way.
That is true.
So I'm so glad to have you. And Kristin, you're a local attorney. I should have said that in my introduction. But and you just a couple of years ago started a brand new law practice called Abridge Law.
4 years in this July.
Has it really been 4 years?
Yes.
So it was like a pandemic baby.
It was.
I love it. There's a lot of pandemic babies. Some of them are human babies. Others are business babies.
This is a pandemic business baby.
Tell us about your pandemic business baby. So what is it that you do at Abridge Law?
So Abridge Law is a boutique business law practice. We work with founders, entrepreneurs, small business owners, medium business owners on a variety of things through the business life cycle, starting their businesses, contracts, hiring employees, hopefully getting to the point where they sell their business and realize gain from all that great hard work. So we do it all. And what makes us a little bit different from most of the other law firms in the area, and it's the reason why I started Abridge, is that after practicing for 20 plus years, we don't need to know the exact number, I've heard from small business owners that they enjoyed working with attorneys. It made their lives easier. They felt more confident in the choices that they were making for their business, but the fees. It was just too expensive to work with and engage with legal counsel. And so I thought about it, and it occurred to me that while you as a business owner might be dealing with a unique issue, or you think it's unique to you, I probably have seen the issue or been on some part of that issue already. So I have a good amount of, a good feel for how to work with you and what it's going to take to solve your problem. And I've translated that into a fixed fee pricing model. So now if you need a service, the day you ask me to provide that service, it's going to cost you X dollars. And that's it.
So it's not like, the experience that many people have with attorneys, it doesn't really matter what the type of attorney, there are different obvious models. Some are, I think with, lawsuits where you have liability and stuff like that, it's usually based on, what the settlement is.
The contingent fee. Yep.
Which is different than the out-of-pocket, fees where you're like on the clock.
Right.
And I think what you're alluding to is a lot of times people feel like, gee, I don't want to call my attorney because I know that the second I do, they're going to punch the clock and I'm going to be paying by the minute.
Every 6 minutes to be precise. Yes.
6 minutes to be precise, which is horrifying. It goes very quickly. It reminds me a little bit of when I lived in Germany years ago. And I think this has changed now, but when I lived in Germany, we had the dial rotary phone. I'd pick up the phone to call my parents, and there was this beeping sound. And it would beep every couple of seconds, and every beep meant you were going to pay 10 pfennigs, 10 German pennies. And it was so much, so fast. And I'm like, oh my God, Mom, I can't afford this call. Thank you. It's been nice talking to you. Bye.
Right.
And that's how it is with that, right?
Yeah, no, and I liken it to the taxi meter also, right?
Oh, sure.
You're seeing it rolling and ticking up, but you're sitting in traffic. You're not moving anywhere.
Yeah, I'm having a great conversation with you, but I'm going to get out now.
Yeah. I think that's what people see in their heads when they call their attorney, and we tried to, do it differently.
So is this a very different, new kind of an approach? Or, it sounds kind of very unique.
People have been talking about alternative fee models for a long time.
Yeah.
Very few firms actually embrace it. There's a lot of talk about doing it, but until clients really kind of force
Right.
firms to do it, they don't do it because there's a lot of, being able to bill you for every single minute of our engagement is no risk to me. I'm fully compensated for every single minute of us working together. So why move to a different model where I might have to share some of that risk, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes a client comes in and we're going to be able to do the work within the time that we planned. Sometimes it'll be faster, sometimes it'll be shorter. We're hoping that, over the law of averages over the course of time and many engagements, we'll have priced things the right way.
Right.
But we're not assured that every single time it's no risk for us. And so I think law firms kind of are hesitant about embracing it, but I have found that that risk is compensated by reward. I have happy clients. I get paid on time. I hated. I was the worst person in the firm for getting my time sheets in because I hated tracking my time by 6 minutes. So I'm just happier practicing this way.
I think it probably is fairly detrimental to the relationship between the client and the attorney when the basis for work isn't doing the work and getting the task done. The basis for work is the clock. And the incentive is really to spend more time, from the attorney's perspective.
It is.
And I'm not going to say that all attorneys are that way, but if that's what you're rewarded, if that's what you're rewarded for, maybe not as a junior attorney working in a larger firm. My guess is you're going to move quicker up the ladder if you're billing more, right?
Right.
Which isn't necessarily in the client's best interest.
Right. Yeah, tying your promotion and your advancement success to your time metrics, which is supposed to, approximate productivity, but it really doesn't, because not all time, this in your workday too. You have very productive time and then you have not so productive time. And, in the morning, you might be able to get things, out the door, and by 3:00 in the afternoon, when you're in that, mid-afternoon slide, it could take you twice as long to do the same thing you could have gotten out the door in 10 minutes.
You know what makes me really cranky is when I have because it's true what you just described. What makes me really cranky is when emergencies happen during my very productive time. Because then I can't get anything done, But I fight fires really effectively. So, Kristin, I love this. You've been doing this now for 4 years. And is it just yourself, or do you have a staff around you now, a team?
So from time to time, right now, it's just me. Although all of last year, for the last couple of years, I've had employees. What I'm doing right now is, I've kind of figured out the flat fee model.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to incorporate more of that efficiency. I'm playing around with AI and kind of how's that going to come into my practice and transform how we do what we're doing and what sort of competencies do we need now, because the way I learned how to practice law is not going to be the way that new attorneys practice law. So I took this year to kind of step back and really want to engage in more exploration about that. I've always said Abridge Law is a modern firm. It's a firm of the future. And so this year I'm living that mission of, being very future focused.
I love that. You mentioned AI, and I know that artificial intelligence in our world and in so many worlds is helping us to be more productive, especially if you're in a business which is, you're in the business of generating a lot of content, whether it's words or pictures or articles or different types of that type of content. Artificial intelligence can be incredibly helpful in making you more productive. But what I've discovered is that also you can't rely on it to speak for you. It cannot be your words. You definitely need to be careful about what comes out the other end, right?
Yeah, and that's the way I approach it. It's a tool. It's not to replace. It's because law and everything else requires nuance. It requires judgment. It requires understanding variables, and
Right.
that's not what AI does. AI generalizes and simplifies to the lowest common denominator. And so so I'm not fearing it. I'm embracing it, and we'll see where we go with it.
Well, I'll tell you a quick story about how I've used artificial intelligence. I have found, well, I am not a very good poet, and I'm also not a very funny person. So in other words, I'm not good at limericks. And what I have found is ChatGPT is extraordinarily good at limericks. And I recently I plugged into ChatGPT about a number of variables about our upcoming skydiving fundraiser. And I said, write me a short humorous limerick about United Way doing a skydiving fundraiser to support a strong community safety net. And what came out the other end, honestly, I was in stitches. And it could have been written by me if I had that kind of talent, but I had absolutely no problem using it because the input was mine.
Right.
And the output was credible. But that type of thing is just really amazing. I would spend days trying to come up with something half as good.
Well, for me, I can already see where, when I have to do presentations and things like that, I already have my outline, my speaker notes, but then taking all of that and creating a presentation, the slides and what goes on the slides and stuff like that. When you can just do part A, content, or that outline, and then have it start to build the presentation slide, that's gonna save me hours, probably days.
Yeah. Grant writing.
Yeah.
That's another area that we're really starting to look at using it more. I've been on a number of, one thing that's interesting, I've been on a number of scholarship application review committees lately. And I have found that there are some scholarship applications that have been coming in, which are very clearly not the words of any high school senior who ever walked planet Earth. And the words are very resonant of what ChatGPT has to say. And it's discouraging a little bit because what's going on there. On the other hand, I guess, all the power to our young people who've decided to use technology to their advantage. I can't really slight that, although I wish the craftsperson in me wishes the words were theirs.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think it's more, I think of it as a tool, not a replacement. And I think I find it hard. I mean, coming up with the right prompts, I give people a lot of credit if they're able to put in enough information to actually get something that's spit out that looks, that makes sense. Because it's a learning tool.
Well, I do find myself going through a couple of iterations. I'll say, here's my initial input, and then I'll say, oh, make it shorter. Oh, add a specific, variable that I hadn't thought of. And just by, modifying your inputs a little bit as you go, it just, and it personalizes it a little bit better. I don't know if if I can take credit for that.
There's some originality happening behind
it is.
the
It's
scenes.
It's like having a buddy there helping you.
Yeah.
I'll take a little credit for that. So you, it's an interesting business model. I appreciate hearing about that, and the innovation is great, and I like it. I think what resonates with me the most is how I can imagine this is changing your relationship with your clients.
Yes.
How it's kind of like financial planners who some are compensated based on the returns for their investment portfolios from their clients, and some are fee per, for investments. And if you're compensated based on the results you're getting, that relationship is going to be a healthier one. I think the outcome will be what you're after.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think, simplifying what I do, I'm a service provider like everybody else. Yes, there are some very fancy letters after my name, but at the end of the day, I'm providing a service. And so to me, relationship, you can't have a relationship and provide good service without having that, deep trust with somebody. And I think this helps facilitate that.
Has business law always been your focus?
Yes.
So really, if I was going to talk with somebody about what you did, I would say, if you're looking for an attorney who's deeply seasoned in the world of business law, meaning from initial formation through sale and everything in between, including, as you said, employees and
contracts, leases.
Yeah, absolutely. All of that, soup to nuts. and you're looking for a different way to approach perhaps the billing model and to work with somebody who's much more personable, Abridge Law is probably for you.
I would like to think so, yes.
Okay. That's great. I mean, I love that, Kristin. I will say one of the things I appreciate about you as well is how you give back to the community. And you take that seriously. You were one of our initial participants in our Small Business United program, which is terrific. So we thank you for being a partner and a sponsor of that program. But you also, years ago when you were on the United Way board, you also rappelled with us at Over the Edge. Is that right?
The first one, yes.
The very first one, as did I. We didn't know whether we were going to die or not. We're both here to speak about it. And what do you think? How was that for you? Well, and I'm not going to ask you if you're all set to go again, because I know the answer to that.
Yeah, no, that was a one and done.
Yeah.
What I appreciate about the United Way fundraisers that I have participated in, which was both Over the Edge and United Way Sleep.
Yep.
Sleep Out, is the experience is someone, you can give money, you can write a check, anyone can do that.
Yeah.
But when you do that coupled with an experience like that, it changes your perspective in really interesting ways.
Mm-hmm.
With the Sleep Out, having spent a night in a cardboard box, again, that was like the first one that you did.
It rained like crazy. Yep.
I got zero sleep. There was some guy 2 or 3 boxes over snoring the whole night.
I know who that was. Okay. There were several of them, and I do know who they were. Yeah, I won't, but it's almost a prerequisite for being a board member at United Way, apparently, to snore like crazy.
So I got zero sleep, and so I got home. I was lucky enough that it wasn't a work day. I got to go home and sleep for a couple of hours, but I remember getting up the rest of that day and just I was in low gear all day. It was really hard to get any energy. And what a perspective, right? For someone who that's their life. They are not sleeping in a place where they feel safe, where they can get real rest, and then have to get up and function at a job or take care of kids or whatever. I never, ever would have understood that perspective without participating. And
it's true. There was an interesting time. This is a timely conversation. There was an interesting piece on NPR this weekend about sleep science. And one of the people was speaking about the relationship between mental health and sleep. And it used to be that the thought was that mental health disorders and being unwell mentally affected your sleep. But it's now becoming more well understood that it's really a two-way street, and that poor sleep, lack of good quality sleep in the right amounts can absolutely affect your mental health. And so it can become sort of a negative spiral. So when people I've had the same thing. I've never slept well at the Sleep Out, but it's only one night.
Right.
If I had to do this every single night, I can absolutely see how my mental health would deteriorate very quickly, actually.
Right. It'd be harder to keep your job. You wouldn't be able to think straight. No, it really clarified and focused, something about an aspect of homelessness that I don't think I would have appreciated any other way.
Right.
So.
Right. It's funny, one of the ideas I had for the Sleep Out, to change the Sleep Out last year, which I was absolutely vetoed by a number of people, but I thought we should have, instead of, let's just recognize that ain't none of us gonna sleep. And let's have an all-night experiential activity. And let's just do just like back to college, right? Do an all-nighter and have some sort of thing that we do. And so many people vetoed that. And I'm like, you guys aren't going to sleep anyway. What's the big, but you got to go with what people want. So give them what they want.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. And Over the Edge is coming up. It's coming up in June, 24th and 25th. It's going to be a huge event. It's actually grown so much since you were participating the first year. We're going to have over 100 people participating. It's become about a $200,000 event, which is amazing.
Exciting.
I'm going to do it again for the, I think, 4th time. What was your experience like?
Also, you know, also very perspective forming in that, you know, I now refer back to that specific event and use it as a touchstone a lot. I find myself thinking about it a lot when I'm kind of in the thick of things, on a variety of things, you know, things happening in life, and it helps, you know, you know, specifically, you know, I was at the top of the building. I was excited. I was, you know, couldn't wait to take it on. Of course I was fearful too. I mean, I think there's a picture, you've posted a picture of me on that, and there was nothing but panic on my face.
Yep, that's
in that
right.
photo.
That's true.
But I was excited too. And, you know, you start going down after I kind of figured out that joystick thing, the brake, you know, going down the first 15, 20 feet, I'm like, I can do this. This isn't so bad. You know, gung-ho. And then, you know, about halfway down, the sun is beating on me. It's getting kind of hot. It's getting harder to just kind of figure out, you know, how to descend with that handbrake. And I look down and it's just, I'm like, oh, there's just so... Should I give up? There's just so much more to go. What did I do? Why did I do this? Like the whole story.
So that was
goes
your
in your
18th.
head.
That was your
Yeah,
18th floor
18th
experience.
floor is like, I'm in the thick of it. I'm tired. I'm hot. This is not fun anymore. Like what? Yeah, you're totally, you know, in the tunnel, right? You're in the darkest part of the tunnel, and. You know, I'm like, do I just throw my hands out and just let them lower me down?
Yep.
You know, just lower me down, make it easy for me, or do I keep going? And you know, I'm like, nope, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. And then you get to the bottom, and all you feel is elation, and you're so proud of yourself that you did it, right? And so now, you know, that's kind of my touchstone for. You know, and especially, which is very good with entrepreneurship, right? Because, you know, there are a lot of times when you feel like you're going through that tunnel.
Yep.
And you're in the dark part of the tunnel. So
it's become your don't give up metaphor.
It is my don't give up metaphor.
Interesting. So totally different experience for me. My experience was really much less intellectual than that. It was really just more my animal primal. I'm going to die now. I'm pretty sure I'm going to die. And then I hit that 18th floor and I thought, well, maybe I won't die. And then I hit the 10th floor and I said, well, I'm probably not going to die today. probably next year. Oh my Lord. Kristin, well, you know, that's really great that you do these things. Are there other ways in which you give back to the community through Abridge or personally yourself?
Mostly, so through the business, I do a lot of volunteer with the Small Business Development Center and the Center for Women in Enterprise, just kind of doing some of that business law counseling for new business owners, people who are thinking. But quite honestly, you guys keep pulling me back, not in terms of board or going, you know, diving off of buildings, but certainly I have volunteered in with the baby shower, which last year, which again, great perspective. You know, you go in thinking, you know, and people donate and they do wonderful things to put on that event. But, you know, I was sitting there last year and there are a bunch of mothers where, you know, English was a second language and they're going past these baby books and the baby books were all written in English. And so they were kind of passing over that opportunity.
Right.
And I thought, gosh, you know, I would have been somebody who got baby books in English, not thinking about that. And then this year when the baby shower came along, I roped a couple of my friends in with me to then go out and get, following your directions, like to go get baby books in different languages for people. And
the Spanish language baby books that we got this year are fantastic. I've been reading them to my grandson. He doesn't understand at all, but I think that just hearing the words, hearing the sound, seeing something different, I think that's a good thing too.
Yeah. And I think,
thank you for that.
You participating in the community changes your perspective in really good ways.
It really
it gets you out of your own biases, your own assumptions. I find nothing but positive in doing that.
I love that perspective. And what's next for you and Abridge Law? Anything on the horizon that we want to share with folks?
Just continuing to grow and change and, you know, do things in a way that, you know, are unexpected but delightful is kind of how I try to position, how we do our service delivery. I want people to feel like they got the best possible service, but in really great ways, interesting ways. So more growth. We've already worked with, I think it's going to be close to 500 businesses by the time the fourth anniversary rolls around. So,
and are all of your clients or most of your clients here from the area, or do you also extend your reach beyond not just Nashua, but maybe even New Hampshire?
I am licensed in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, so that's where all of our clients come from.
Okay. Well, that's a big enough pool for this work, I imagine.
It's more than I can do, and more than any one firm could do. So I'd love other people to just jump on board and try to service that small and middle-sized business market, because they need the help and they're great. Small business owners are the best.
Well, I can say
as a former one,
as a former small business owner, and as somebody who works with a lot of small business people, I appreciate entrepreneurship, and I appreciate that scrappy can-do-itness. Everything that goes with that, I find that to be invigorating. Having worked in big business for a number of years, I found that to be kind of a boring and staid sort of a place, and a lot of politics. And I really do appreciate this type of a thing. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Well, Kristin, we're about out of time. I wanted to thank you for coming on and talking with us about Abridge Law and about what you're doing in your boutique law firm.
Thank you.
It's really a great story. I'm sure you can be found online by Googling Abridge Law, New Hampshire.
You can.
Something like that. I did bring you a gift. This is a visor. I thought that might look nice on you. We went to a national conference and I brought that back with United Way a couple of months ago, and I thought that would be a good gift for Kristin. So that's for you.
I'm going to wear it every time I play golf, which is not often.
I know you play golf.
It's definitely going with me from now on.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
So you've been listening to Kristin Mendoza from Abridge Law, a boutique law firm focusing on small business and really businesses of all sizes in the greater Nashua area. And next time, I do not know who we'll be having on our show, but I can guarantee you this. It'll be somebody who's giving back to our community and doing great things to help us to live united. And until then, it's been great talking to you. Thank you, Kristin.
Thanks.